Hey y'all, happy Monday. It is 11:01 and I'm here watching Master Class and about to get to working on the infamous book. So, a couple of things I want to announce and then I'm going to get into some topics. So, first thing I want to mention is that Anthony has an exhibition that's going to be going on at the Peach. The opening reception is actually on the 11th. However, he will be over at the Art Walk on the 5th, God willing, good weather. The Peach is 3950 Georgia Avenue in West Palm Beach. The um, Art Walk is from 5 to 10 on the 5th, and his actual opening reception is from 6 to 9. Also, I'm happy to announce Darren Samonson is going to be doing music for him, not just for the 11th, but they're going to be doing some programming at the Peach on Tuesdays. Tuesdays is a really good day to head over to the Peach. They have Taco Tuesday going on. Scott Jeffries has his Paint with Me. We have an opportunity to paint with Scott. So Anthony's going to be doing some live art and there'll be music playing. So it's a cool opportunity to get to see the Peach and support this artist studio spaces. There's 6 different spaces. They just got a new tenant. I believe he is a gallery owner, so it's cool to see there's still activation going on over there. So don't miss out. Great opportunity to support local artists. I want to constantly stay on that track about supporting local artists. But the other thing that I want to talk about, not so much the basic public, but artists in general supporting each other. And I don't necessarily mean fiscally. Um, Over the years, we have worked with, we tracked it, we did a statistic, and it's somewhere over 850 different artists from different parts of the country, different parts of Florida, even on the international level. That's a lot of artists, and it's probably more since we did that stat. We did that stat like about 2 years ago for a project for a fellow business person in the arts. One of the things that artists need to understand, and I don't think a lot of artists realize this, we we, as in ATB, my husband and myself, have sacrificed a lot over the 32, 33 plus years of doing this. And some of the things that I think that folks don't understand is that we don't only do this for ourselves. We do this to help other artists uh, in different ways, whether it be just giving them an opportunity to exhibit where they wouldn't have exhibited before, giving them access to collectors that they probably would have never had. And we don't ask for anything when we do this. Unless we're curating a show, then there's a commission agreement. But over the years, there have been artists we have seen who have been extremely talented, and we personally have chosen not to work with them again because their vision of what their future looks like does not include other people in there. It's only about them. And I'm going to say this again because I've said it before. If your vision is solely about you and only you, that means you bring people in to kind of help a cause, but it's to help only you, then don't get us involved in that. Because I want no parts of that. If I was willing to lose my house to help people, that shows sacrifice. If you bring people in to support something we're doing just so you can get a leg in, that's not how we work. And if you haven't figured that out by now, then you've missed a lot. There have been artists that have had the opportunities to exhibit in exhibitions where they didn't go through the process of submission for jurying, but they had an opportunity to pay in sweat equity and had pretty much a similar opportunities that many other artists have had, except for some of the other perks, like the artists that have been juried into a show, they have access to be able to potentially win awards. Um, Whereas the sweat equity, you have the opportunity to exhibit in a show. I can tell you there have been people who have supported us one minute and then disappointed me in the next, because when you start following the breadcrumbs, you realize this was never about us. This was about you. And I have to turn my back on that. You know, my husband is way more understanding than I am, probably to a fault. I don't have patience for it anymore. I have different circles that I run in. I have my friends from New York. I actually got to do a meetup with several friends. Some I hadn't seen since high school, and some since I hadn't seen since my wedding. But it was just like we were right back in the game, just like I had not, I saw them yesterday. Um, those are the kind of relationships I value. I unfortunately, actually, not just me, but a group, my peer group that I am very close with, had to make a decision about one particular individual because this person had been in our lives for so long. And for whatever reason, that particular individual, um, we made a choice that they're no longer in our circle anymore. And it's because of selfishness. And that's somebody that I've known for over over 40 years. 40 years is next year for when I graduated. I knew this person longer than that. And it hurts because there was a lot of deceit involved, a lot of dishonesty involved, and I just can't rock with that. When you have had an opportunity to be part of the collective that we work in, the collective that we do business with, and because of something that happened to you personally, you choose to be disrespectful to the network, I can't rock with that. I don't care who you are. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how long I've known you. I learned this from my dad, actually, because my father was very, very, I won't say he was aloof, but he didn't let things bug him, and he would always tell me, because I was one of those things used to upset me, and he's like, don't let it upset you. It's not worth you getting upset about certain things. And I had to look at it from the perspective of, this is a man who has been in the military. This is a man who has been widowed with a young child. This is a man who left his home to go to another community and was embraced for the most part solo. He went there solo. He didn't, he had family that moved to New York from North Carolina, but, he did his stuff. He brought his family where he needed to, but he did a lot of the stuff on his own. And I had to look at it from the perspective, this was also a man who had health issues. He had high blood pressure. I, in tune, now have high blood pressure. And I had to start thinking about, what is it that I'm doing? Obviously, I don't eat great. I like my food. I like to have a little libation. But I had to come to realize that that is not going to be the option all the time. I tend to get riled up when I feel that something is unjust, whether it's watching something on the news or whether it's interacting with an individual one on one, or whether it's in my home. And I have to start thinking about not letting other people's bad energy get into me, because that's going to raise my blood pressure and potentially make me sick. And you're not worth it. I'm sorry. You're just not. Um, there's so much I want to say, but I can't say it out of respect for individuals. But what I will say, if you have a problem with the way the things that we've done for you was not to your liking, I'm sorry. And like I said, if I'm willing to sacrifice my livelihood for the betterment of a community, but all you're thinking about is you, I can't tell you how to check yourself, but I can tell you I need to dismiss you from my orbit. And my orbit, for the most part, my orbits, I have several orbits, are pretty small with people that I trust. And if I've lost trust and faith in you, that it's a wrap. I can say that it's a wrap. Um, Anthony is way more forgiving than me. I give two chances. He says he gives less, but ultimately he's a soft soul. He eventually will forgive. I just say I don't forget. I may say I forgive you, but I don't forget. Your dismissal or disrespect is right here, and it doesn't get lost. I forget some things, just trying to do a lot of stuff, but I don't forget disrespect. I do not. Um, and when people, there have been a couple of instances where I gave another chance, and I'm still in the back of my mind remembering what brought me here, where I had to reconsider um, that individual. And then there's some individuals I gave one chance, and that chance was enough. And part of the reason was I was given information about the individual. I gave them a chance out of respect for the person that recommended them. But I knew if they crossed the line one time, that was one time too many. And what it is people get comfortable. And when you get comfortable, you do stupid stuff. So I had to come to realize that, yeah, it's a wrap. I'll see you. I'm polite, never rude. Closest thing to rude is that I don't acknowledge you at all. If I see you, I walk by. I don't, if you say hello, I'll speak. But that's about it. So understand this. If you disrespect one of my cores, so one of my orbits, so one of my orbits is obviously my family, my sons, my husband. You disrespect anybody in that circle, it's a wrap. Then I got my alumni slash fan. I call them my family because they're family. I mean, heck, I even have one person that I dated in that family because we were friends before we were anything else. And you disrespect, even if it's within the group, if there is like a mole in the group or there is like something toxic in the group, I will politely remove it. You know how you disinfect the problem when there's, if you have a rash or whatever, you have to clean it off to get rid of the. Sometimes you had to do that, and we had to do that within the core. There's some people within the core that just are busy and are not part of it, but will always be accepted. But we had to disinfect a problem. And then I have my art group. So my art orbit, I have the direct people, and then I have people that come in and out for whatever reason. Um, there have been some that came in and was there for a long time, but again, got a little comfortable, got a little beside themselves, going through stuff, and we had to kind of eliminate that from the equation. And I have no qualms about it, quite honestly. I really don't. It may sound mean or dismissive, but it's for my health, my mental health, and my sanity. We talked about, it's so interesting, two instances where mental health came up. We had an interview recently. They'll be coming out in July, I believe. And mental health was discussed. Also within my friend group, we were talking about checking on our health. Mental health came up. I had to come to realize my mental health and my physical health are very much connected, like for most people. But for me, because of the blood pressure situation, it's very intertwined. And I got some news about an individual who did something definitely disrespectful, out of character for what I know them for, and it was directly impacting someone within my orbit. And my statement when it was brought to my attention is that I'm done. You know, they're still connected on social media, but if you can't be respectful to people that gave you an opportunity, I can't do anything for you. And if you think being nice to me but being disrespectful to one of my individuals in one of my orbits is going to give you a leg up, it's not. So I made it very clear. And it bugs me because I'm a little annoyed. I was looking through footage of different things, photos, videos, interviews, and I noticed that the individual had been really, really embedded into our orbit for quite a while, um, and benefited immensely from it. Had major opportunities, had positions that would never have happened. But what I've come to realize, and it's interesting, I spoke to one of my people in one of those orbits. It came up from that, like, I didn't even have this incident didn't happen until after. One of the people who is pretty easy breezy, nothing phases this person, and they brought it to our attention. Do you have a problem with this particular person with this particular problem? And I said, yes. And it was like, and I never seen this person really get perturbed about it. Now, I didn't bring anything up. They asked me a question because it was bugging them. So I come to realize if it bugged that person, that nothing, it just stuff rolls off that individual's back. It's not the person that asked me the question. It's not the other members in my orbit. It's that individual. And it's something that was festering and it obviously needs to be removed. I can't do nothing else for them until they check themselves. Because and it's happened with many individuals in different orbits where you have to kind of check. I think part of the problem is kind of like what's going on right now in our country. We get really complacent with the things we benefit from until something happens and then we're in shock. And I think until we keep our eyes open to what's going on around us, and that includes with the people that are around us, um, you have to realize that not everybody. Some people are here for a reason and a season. My friend Karen tells me that all the time. Um, she's like, sometimes it was meant for that point in time. As sad as it is, you have to learn how to keep it moving. And I've taken on that perspective. My father had that same perspective. He didn't say it to me. It's how he rolled through life. You realize that there are some people that are in your orbit for the benefits of what the orbit is providing them, not for long-term relationships, not for camaraderie. It's strictly for self-preservation and nothing more. There's nothing wrong with being about making sure that you are good. Absolutely. Like I'm saying, for me, I need to make sure my health and my mental health and my physical health is on point. Like today, I went to the doctor, stressed beyond belief. I have to go to another doctor tomorrow and decided to take my blood pressure. Figuring, oh, it happened, it's over with, but not realizing that I'm still coming down from that energy. So I took my blood pressure, obviously slightly elevated. Why? Because I was stressed all day. I'm going to be stressed until probably Wednesday because I got another doctor's appointment. So I thought about it, I was like, that was pretty stupid to even bother taking my blood pressure because rest assured it's going to be elevated. Duh. Um, but what I've come to realize, I can't have individuals in my orbits providing me with that same level of stress. I can't. Um, one of my one of my friends, I see them quite often actually, and they can kind of tell when I'm like in a mood. We kind of have this energy. We know when the other one is kind of not in a good mood, so we know how to bring the other one down. So like we'll be like in a meeting or something, and then they'll look at me and they give me this look, and I'll look at them, and people are thinking these two are a bunch of clowns. But we know when something's off. Like I could say this, they're a fellow Gemini. I could say that. So Geminis read energy, kind of like how twins read each other's energy. Well, Geminis are naturally twins. We just know something's off. We know, we sense it probably before it even happens. And depending on which one is in what position will determine how the other one's going to react. So we don't necessarily feel the same pain like twins do, but we sense when something is slightly off. And we're pretty perceptive to that. So it cracks me up when like certain situations and certain people, we both, sense the issue in different times, in different ways, but ultimately we figure out, yeah, it wasn't me, it was them. And we may not ever say anything for like months. And then we're like, did you realize that such and such? Yeah, me too. Wasn't that the problem? You got to read the signs and you got to read the room. And in my case, you would never let something on your body get infected, right? So why would you let your circles get infected just because you're comfortable with that individual or that circumstance? No. Rest assured, if even within my kids and my husband, if they're going to be problematic, we're going to address it because it's that particular circle, which is my main circle. We're never going to let that fester. We'll straighten that out. We will straighten that out. So, and then I have, there's other like smaller circles where, you have to kind of let things happen and then you let it ride for a while. So I get it, but understand this. One thing you will never do, you are never going to destroy my main orbit. Like I said, myself, my sons, and my husband. That is number one priority first. And then my other one, my core. And then, like I said, I have a core, like a crew. And then I have small little cells that are separate from that because they're not affiliated, they're just separate. Um, some are one-on-ones, some are, a little bit not as large as the big group, but some are smaller orbits, and I protect all of them. So like if part of the orbit is my friends and a parent, the parent eventually passes away, that's just the natural cause of life. Understand, I'm still protecting not only that core, that orbit, but I'm also protecting the reputation of the person that passed on. And see, part of the problem was with one of the other orbits, they was infecting the bigger group, but they were also filtering into some of my other orbits with negativity, and that I was not having. Not having. Nope, not. Because understand this, like I said, my orbits are family. They're not just people that you know, I'm friends with for this point. No, when they've come to the point where they break bread with me, they're family. So if you infiltrate that core to try to get into something, I'm going to question what your intent was from the beginning. Chances you had no good intentions. Or if you did, the intentions were solely, again, for yourself. So think about that before you come at me about something, um, and not check yourself first. So the last thing I want to talk about is masterclass. Now, I'm not getting paid by masterclass by any stretch of the imagination. Guarantee you, even though I've already subscribed to it, I'm probably going to see a bunch of ads because I mentioned it. But I will say, I do a lot of reading. I haven't been doing a lot of reading lately. I've been doing more watching documentaries and listening to podcasts of noted individuals. I'm not obsessed with podcasts, but I do appreciate them when they're connected to a book or a body of work or whatever. But Masterclass was one of those things that a friend of mine, actually before my friend mentioned it to me, during the pandemic, I was going to subscribe. And I got really busy with just stuff, with applying for grants and doing, work to get people to figure out about their unemployment and all that stuff. So it's doing a lot of that kind of work. Didn't really find the time. And then my friend last Christmas, they had a deal going on. So I said, oh, okay. I've been wanting to do that. And she had told me one of the main topics that got her intrigued. To even subscribe. And I listened to that particular one when I did finally subscribe. And it was very long, so sometimes it got, excuse me, some of the information bored me a little bit, but because it was more about politics, not currently, but over the course of these two women, um, who were both in politics and they had the same position. I won't get into it. You have to subscribe to it to know what I'm talking about. They had the same position at different times. And it was fascinating because I looked at what they were talking about, not in the sense of this is politics. I looked at it as business. So the same thing goes with some of the other masters. I call them masters, educators. They talk about things from their industry and what you have to be able to do. As a creative, I'm capable of doing this. Some people are very, very linear, very, very literal. I can take something and implement it into how it would work in my industry or what I'm doing. So I highly recommend, if there's any investment, like people are doing like workshops and artists in residencies, and they pay a lot of money for these workshops. And if I have capital to put into something, I will definitely do that. But this is definitely an investment worth having. Having. Not just that, but it's not like only those people. They're constantly putting new content on there. So I was getting ready to go through my list because I've gone through probably, I've saved about 12 and I've gone through four of those 12. But periodically they have like highlights of individuals. So I've been absorbed in that as well. And I got to tell you, it's a game changer. It makes you look at things differently. Those of you who choose to strictly look at stuff from the perspective of what you're used to, you will never expand your thought. You will never expand your creativity if you're an artist. And you will never expand as a person in society. You will only march to the beat of the drum that you know. You're not willing to step out of that beat and pick up a new beat. And that's why, for the most part, it's a challenge for me to work with certain creatives because they're not willing to think outside the box. They're so used to um, doing just enough to pretty much sell. So again, I'm in the middle of writing this book about art as a business. If your key component is to strictly make art to sell, are you an artist or are you just somebody who's in the industry to make a buck? You're not a creative. You're not a creative. If that is your sole purpose, yes, you want to sell your work. Yes, it is important. But like for instance, me writing this book, it's more about me sharing information so that artists can navigate what they need to navigate, getting information that they may not have thought about and saying, oh, I can implement that into what I'm doing. Oh, I didn't even think of that. That's what this book is for. Because I can tell you, authors rarely make money off of their books. They make money off of the consulting, they make money out of the tours, they make money that way. But as far as just selling books, you might sell a lot of books. But the other thing is, part of the proceeds for this book is not going into only my pocket, it's going to the nonprofit. So my contribution to the nonprofit is going to be coming from that book. So every sale that's made, a percentage goes back into the nonprofit. Because guess what, folks? Nonprofits need your support. They need you to help. And the last thing I want to talk about is just that. The No More Starving Artists Foundation is started. It's what we started in 2018, 7 years ago. And we've done a lot so far, but we need to continue. And we need to function. It's still a business, and there's still things we have to do to maintain that business. Um, it's not only about giving out grants, it's about maintaining the legacy of the artist. So if you look at what the mission is and what the vision is of the nonprofit, nowhere does it say that our mission is to give grants to artists. That's not what this is about. Yes, we've given grants to artists, and yes, we will continue giving grants to artists and awards to artists, and hopefully scholarships to youth, paying performers to do what they do, live painters and DJs and poets and writers. Yeah, we will continue doing that. But that is not only what this is about. It's not a mission that says we are here to give money to artists. That is not what this nonprofit is about. So many people come to us for funding, but they have yet to explain to me how funding is going to come from us if funding is not going to us to be able to pay it back out. So until that happens, we can't give out grants. We have a little bit of money to give out a few scholarships, but we would like to give out more than just a few scholarships. We've established a grant program where we're going to have to do some fundraising towards that one particular campaign. And we want to be able to give out micro grants. We do. We're not here to try to award people $50,000 grants. We give micro grants. So small as $50, as much as probably right now a thousand. We like to do more than that. But our mission is not to try to be the big foundations. We're trying to give pieces to people who may have need a gap closed on a funeral, which we were doing. We help people with funerals, studios, if they were behind on studio payments, if they are having an issue keeping their lights on, um, somebody was in an accident, we were able to put money towards a campaign because they needed living expenses for their family. So those kind of things are more of the concern than whether somebody just gets a $50,000 grant. There are plenty of grants out there and fellowships that can provide that. That is not what we're trying to do. We want to give information so that the $1,000 you might win from us can carry you longer, and it'll allow you to really invest in your business as an artist versus you just getting money to put in your pocket. It's about teaching a person to fish versus just giving them the fish to eat, that kind of thing. So that is what we're for. The organization is to help build the legacy of the artist. That's what the vision is. We want to build the legacy of the artist. We want people to respect that artists are necessities for the world, period. So the mission is to help sustain the artists professionally and personally. Sustaining them does not necessarily have to do with anything fiscal. It could be resources. It could be an opportunity to connect with an attorney, to connect with a client, to sell artwork at an exhibition, to introduce somebody to the right people. We want to help them sustain themselves personally and professionally. Period. Um, does that take money for the nonprofit? Absolutely. We want to be able to open up a space so people can come to and use the resources we have, help do, workshops and that kind of thing. I mean, we want to continue doing that. Can't do it without capital. So if you want to help the No More Starving Artists Foundation, you can go to nmsaf.org, No More Starving Artists Foundation, .org, and donate what you can, whatever you can do. And if you don't have the capital, reach out to somebody who might. And those who have helped us along the way, thank you, thank you, thank you, because you have helped. Depending on what year you contributed, you might have helped towards a bunch of awards. In a lot of cases, many of you that contributed right before the pandemic helped us be able to give out grants to people who are probably in more of a dire need than others. But the other thing you have to realize is that if you need the help, like if you legitimately need the help, you need to say it. We don't read minds. We have thousands and thousands of artists in this community just here in Palm Beach County. We've helped so many artists, not necessarily only in this county. So if you need help, and I don't necessarily mean like, hey, I don't have any money, not that kind of help. I might be able to guide you to somewhere, a resource. But like, let's say you don't know how to write an artist statement. The first thing I'm going to ask you, are you willing to invest in paying somebody to do that for you? Because I know people that can do that. I know three right in the top of my head that I could say, hey, this person needs to an artist statement written up. They want to hire you to do it. Because the bottom line is, and I say this to everybody, I'm not trying to get people to donate their time when they probably do that automatically. A lot of me donating time, so, and I'm going to say this and then I'm going to go. A lot of us artists already donate our time. We commit to different nonprofits based on what we feel speaks to us. So when you approach an artist, and I mean any creative, and you're like, well, we, we work with children, so we don't have the money to pay you, but if you can do this, but that organization wasn't necessarily on their radar because they already work with an organization that deals with children, and they are happy to donate their time towards that. So don't gaslight someone because you didn't put a budget together to be able to hire them like a professional to do what you need them to do for your organization. Because I can say it right now, um, we don't have a budget. So I don't approach people when I don't have a budget. You get what I'm saying? I might have a conversation for a future goal, and I might ask them, okay, what do you charge for this? And I have it in my notes filed. So when something comes about, I know what this person is entitled to getting paid. I don't approach people and say, well, we don't have a budget, but we want you to. And a lot of times people will approach me and I let them know I don't have a budget for that. And they may say, oh, I got an underwriter that's willing to do that. They just need to A, have a place to give some, an organization. And B, we just need these people to get seen. So we have the way to get the money for you so you can pay them to do what they need. What they need is an opportunity for people to see what they do. Then we can have a conversation. But I don't need any more ideas. I am chock full of ideas. This book is being put together because of so many ideas. So rest assured, I have plenty of ideas. The organization has plenty of ideas. ATB has plenty of ideas. We're not looking for ideas. We got a lot of artists too. So I'll be happy to give a little bit of advice, but when it gets into consulting, now we need to have a conversation about compensation. Um, Gone are the days of me strictly giving consulting for free. I cannot do that anymore. And I want to thank some of, those of you who have helped me, not just ATB, but have helped me be sustained while I do the work that I do, which a large percentage of this I don't get paid to do. I literally, a lot of the work I do, I don't get paid for, even for my own company. So, like, when someone sees that I have been doing so much for the, for the community, and they're like, you know what, I want to give you something because you are working really hard. Those things have helped me been able to pay bills, believe it or not. Bills got paid because a patron, and I'm going to call them a patron. They don't want to be called anything, but I'm calling them a patron. A patron really saw what the work that I have been doing as an individual, of course, through the companies that I work through, but as an individual, just doing this, so, and I laugh at this star that Facebook has put up there to find a way for people to get compensated. It's a cute idea. Um, Ultimately, I guess for every whatever, so many pennies, you get like a certain amount of money. I don't endorse any social media platform. But I'm gonna say the one that got it right the best, besides Patreon, Patreon is a site that got it. And I'm gonna start navigating that Patreon site again. But another one is actually, believe it or not, TikTok. People have been able to sustain a whole TikTok and YouTube. People have been able to maintain their livelihoods doing content. And one of the things that once I get this kind of calendar situated with my schedule, I'm putting together a schedule for myself to start doing more content, to start posting on YouTube. I need to start doing things that will monetarily finance what I do. So, those of you who really believed in what I was doing and you have access to the ways to get money to me, I truly appreciate you. Last summer was rough. This summer is not horrible, but it's a rough couple of years. And a lot has to do with the climate and people are nervous and I get it. But there are many of us who still have to earn a living. And for you to say something like go out and get a regular jobs right now are not paying sustainable wages, and I'm overqualified for a lot of the stuff that's in my realm, so they're not going to pay me what I need to get paid to maintain. So that's time out of my schedule and not real money that I'm making, whereas there are things that I can physically do, like consult, like do talks, like do webinars and engagements and those kind of things where people are actually getting something from it and I'm actually getting paid for what I do. It just makes sense. So, cute idea, Facebook or Meta. But Meta, you make over $1 trillion off of us. Yet you're giving people like pennies on the dollar. So there's I'm not knocking it. Those of you who are making your money from it, congratulations. But I'll go to some of the other platforms for that. I'm not even going to say click that and, give me a star. That would be cool if you did, but it is what it is. So that's it. I've been wanting to say that this weekend was wonderful. Thank you to the folks at Legacy Builders, also at Arts United. So Arts United had found Anthony through another program. So the first folks I want to thank actually is Business for the Arts of Broward. Because if it wasn't for Business for the Arts of Broward, Pompano would not have found Anthony. And Arts United, even though Arts United works with a lot of artists that we know, they approached him. He did not approach them. And they asked him to do something for Juneteenth with the partnership with Legacy Builders. So just to explain how that worked, for those of you who didn't know, that's how it worked. It started from Business for the Arts. So what does that mean? It means get more connected with going to cafe and seeing what opportunities are out there to apply for. Because if it wasn't for us searching, we would never have saw the opportunity for artists in South Florida to be connected with Business for the Arts. So if you have any doubts that there is opportunities for artists to get paid for what they do, they exist. You just have to kind of put your feelers out there. So thank you to Business for the Arts. Um, and thank you to Pompano because, like I said, Business for the Arts, then Pompano, Arts United saw us taking down Anthony's show at Baca, and that's how that came about. So it's being in the right spaces at the right times. So stay tuned. There will be some content coming out in regards to Anthony's events. You can actually go to Anthony Burks Fine Artist and find the event for the Peach on the 11th. We'll be putting together the calendar soon, but for the 11th, go out there. We want to see you there. All right. That's it for now. Talk to y'all soon. Deuces.